Hello, my name is Diego, and I want to talk about leadership because I believe it is highly relevant to what I want to do in the future. And I've been very lucky to have many experiences in the past that have allowed me to develop the leadership style that I believe is the most effective. In particular, I want to dive into the communication aspect of leadership because, in my opinion, the way a leader presents himself and the connections that he forms with his team can either multiply the effectiveness of his strategy or diminish it. A few years ago, I had an eye-opening conversation with a teacher of mine talking about the Los Angeles Lakers' new head coach. I told my teacher that I thought this new coach wouldn't be successful because he had no prior experience in coaching at such a high level. In response, my teacher told me that the reason he brought value to this team was in his ability to motivate his players and get them to buy into his vision. I didn't understand it then, but getting people to believe in your system is what truly drives engagement and therefore maximizes potential, something my own experience as a volunteer basketball coach perfectly illustrates. The reason I volunteered as a coach was to exercise my skills as a leader in a sport that I played in for over a decade and was passionate about. However, having no prior experience, the biggest challenge that I faced in my first season was the pressure from the parents and the front office to deliver results, which was exacerbated by our disadvantage in having players that were on average a year younger than the competition. I overcame this by leveraging our weakness in our favor, as our youth and inexperience also meant that we had more room for growth than our opponents. By honing my leadership and fostering a mutual trust between me and my players, they became more receptive to my instructions and vision for the team, which translated into greater performance. Observing different coaches' approaches to commanding their players helped me determine the leadership style that I wanted to follow, especially regarding communication. In my second season, I worked alongside a coach who constantly shouted and belittled our players. What I learned the following season alongside a separate trainer was that talking to people in a composed and understanding tone was far more functional, as not only was my players' confidence visibly higher, but they were also more engaged and attentive. I realized that true communication involves earning respect rather than demanding it, and creating dialogue can nurture an environment where my players felt valued and thus were more accepting of my influence. In my third season, I also began discovering that the best way of demonstrating my trust in my players was by giving them more responsibilities. My focus this year was on giving each player a defined role based on their relative strengths, which we could then integrate into a collective system. The result was that individually players became more assertive, but the biggest improvements came as a team. Their bonds grew stronger, and we no longer relied on just one or two people to win games. When one of them performed poorly, we could count on everyone else to still get the job done. Going into my fourth season, I value how much this team has helped me to determine the type of leader I wanted to become. Whether I'm training 8-year-olds or managing my own company, I now comprehend that creating and executing a strategy is only half my role, because motivating those around me and getting them to see my vision is what truly drives progress. Oftentimes, people focus on the grandiose accomplishments and attempt to bypass the tedious work necessary, thinking it will bring success faster. Therefore, as a leader, it's important to get your team to value the fundamentals and believe in the strategy to encourage a long-term mindset, which I have learned to achieve through an approachable and inclusive communication and strong relationships built on trust.